everyone, and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. Got some interesting things here. Chateau Ste. Michelle, huge winery in Washington State. In fact, they're the #1 producer of wine in the state. In fact, in the nation, they're pretty big. Not as big as Kendall Jackson or some of those guys, but they're pretty big company. They have quite a few labels, and one of their new labels is called Anew, no pun intended. And I got 2 samples sent to me, a Pinot Grigio and a Rosé. So I'm excited to try those. I've never seen this label before. I'm not sure if they distribute through Young's Market, where I get most of my Ste. Michelle stuff. They have a Riesling that they've done, and I haven't seen that yet either. Anyway, I want to try these wines, see how they are, and then I'm going to kind of shift gears real quick and talk about my pick of the month, which is, something I feature at the store for the whole month, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I picked that, because the customer said, now how do you do your pick of the month? And I just want to talk about that, how I do that, what goes through my mind, why I would pick a certain wine for the entire month. I also posted on my website, my blog, stanthewineman.com, if you want to look at that. It's on the front page of that blog. Right now I'm working on my first ever tech article about wine. I'm kind of excited about that. There's a new company called CourtShare. They asked me if I'd be interested in doing an article on them. And I am kind of interested. I think it's a cool company, what they do, how they go about booking tastings at wineries throughout the country. There's some cool things about their website I'm going to share in my article. So look for that in the future under stanthewineman.com and the Blue Collar Wine Guy on seattlepi.com. So let's get started right off. This is the Anew Pinot Grigio, part of the Ste. Michelle group. In fact, it says on the back, cellared and bottled by Chateau Ste. Michelle. This rolls in at $12. All right? And I'm not going to go on my soapbox about Pinot Grigio. I do know it's a very popular brand, and therefore I am going to acquiesce and say that there are times when I do enjoy a Pinot Grigio. It's just not my white of choice, as you all know. No tablecloth today. Doing this on my lunch break. Excited. It feels like it's been a long time since I've done an episode. I haven't known it's been that long. I have some cool things coming up too before we get started on tasting this Pinot Grigio. Do they call it Gris or Grigio? Grigio. Which is the same thing as Gris. Don't get confused. It used to be stylistically they're different. I see some bubbles on that, which is kind of interesting. Used to be stylistically, you can say, well, Gris, well, from Oregon, they put a little bit of oak on it, had a little bit of viscosity, some honeysuckle elements to it. But now there's really no, limits to how they can handle it. Gris, Grigio from Italy, Gris from the United States, kind of the same exact grape. Anyway, I have some exciting things coming up I just want to share with you. I'm going to interview Trey Bush, Sleight of Hand Cellars, Walla Walla, Washington. Very excited about that. Trey is a cool guy. I've met him one time. I really liked him when I met him the first time. I'm excited to spend a little bit of time with him. That's coming up soon. Also, I get to interview David Baverstock from Esparero, Merces in Portugal. Pedro and David are coming over to the United States. They actually asked if I could do a YouTube interview with David. I'm excited about that. A lot to look forward to. Hope you stay tuned for those upcoming episodes. Still struggling on my viewership. I'm working. I don't know, I'm not a techie guy, so I'll take any suggestions you can give me. Make a comment, email me, stan@belucid.com. Give me some information. Something that will help me to ramp up my viewership. Some of my episodes have a ton, some have very few, so I'm trying to get it rolling. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. I'm having fun doing this anyway, but I would like to get viewership. So let's see what we get on the nose with this Pinot Grigio from Anew. So right off the bat I get apples and pears, a little bit of white flowers. Kind of light, not a lot going on aromatically. But I do enjoy it. I like the apples and pear elements coming through. Let's see what we get on the palate. So a lot of apples on the palate. I get a little bit of melon, and I get apple peel, especially the skin of the apple. I like that. It has a little frizzante, kind of like a Vino Verde out of Portugal, which are really big time whites that are starting to grow in popularity. Have you tried a Vino Verde? A lot of people say Vino Verde. I don't care how you say it. It's Vino Verde. Very good wines out of Portugal, northern Portugal, and they have a little frizzante, a little spritz to them. This one has a little bit of that spritz. A little bit of white flowers coming through. This, for $12, I think it's slightly overpriced, but it's still enjoyable. It has a little more complexity than I'm used to with Pinot Grigio from domestic Pinot Grigio, let's just say that. I like the melon component, I like the apple skins, I like the apple. Has a little bitter element on the backside, which makes it a great food wine. This would be perfect with oysters, any kind of shellfish, mussels, clams, be a good sushi wine. Great with salads, by the way, if you're having a salad, nice fresh garden salad, cucumbers, all that stuff. This would be great with it. I say it's overpriced. I shouldn't probably go there. It's $12, which is not that bad. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit and say that it's probably priced fairly. A little hint of orange blossoms and white blossoms coming through. What I like about this wine is it would make a great food wine. By itself, it's still interesting and good, but it would make a good food wine. It's not super light. I'm getting that lingering kind of apple skin thing going on. Yeah, you know, it's probably a $10, $11 wine, but it's only 12 bucks, so I'm not going to say it's super overpriced. I think it's reasonable. I'm going to go B minus on that wine. I like it. Let's move on to the next one. So rosé, I'm really excited. Rosé, especially in my market, is starting to really take off. I mean, we've always had hits, kind of sputter and go, but now it's really taking off. I'm excited about that. So this is the Anew Rosé 2014. The Grigio is 2014. This is rolls in at $12 also. And give a little close up. I looked this up. And I cannot remember exactly what this is composed of. For some reason, Sangiovese is coming to my head, but that could be it. I'm not exactly sure. I had it locked in last week when I was going to do this episode. Things came up. I couldn't do it. Sorry. I'll put it in the descriptor down below what this is from. In other words, this is probably done in a Saunier method in which they bleed off some of the juice from the pressed skins, gives it the pink color, then they continue on to make the wine that they intended to make. Getting a little bubblegum element on the lows, like strawberry bubble yum. A little bit of really light, like pink roses. My dogs are wrestling around on the floor in front of me. Getting a little bit of watermelon. A little bit of cherries coming through also. Let's see what we get on the palate. Nice rosé, I like it. Has a little bit of that bubblegum kind of thing coming through on the palate, but it's not overbearing. I got a lot of strawberries and cherries coming through. Just a hint of watermelon. It has good weight in the mouth. Get a little herbal component coming through, which I like. It's interesting. The watermelon rind element component comes through. Big time, kind of hangs around the palate. Once again, I think this is a great food wine. I really like it that a winery makes their wines to match up with foods. They're just not simple. It's not totally a simple wine. It's got some complexity to it, got some interesting elements to it. For $12, great package, by the way. I'm going to just zoom in. I believe I did zoom in. But great packaging. You know, one of those taller bottles, kind of thin, kind of cool if you're having a party, some people over. Yeah, I'm going to go B minus on that one too. I really like it. I think it's a great bottle of wine for $12. Like I said, it's got a lot of good things going on, a lot of positive elements, a lot of complexity, nice flavors, good finish, good food wine, great food wine. Now, glad I tried those. I like those. Anew Wines. I'll have to figure out where I can get them. Pick of the month. When I choose the pick of the month, I go through a lot of wines in a month. I don't probably taste as much as a lot of wine critics out there, but I do taste a lot of wines throughout the month. And while I'm tasting those wines, I'm looking for a wine that delivers a lot more than the price tag. In other words, this wine has a lot of elements that make it a great wine, but it doesn't demand what it tastes like. So in this case, this is a $12 wine. Normally, and they always have this kind of frontline post-off pricing, but the regular price on this is $17. My dogs are really going at it. It's crazy. Normal price is $17. It's 100% Tempranillo. This is Vina Zaco, Rioja, and I'll give you a close-up of this one. This rolls in at $12. So I'm looking for wines that deliver a lot more than the price tag, and also wines that I feel like 80 to 85% of my customers will enjoy. And that's always a hard thing. Oh, I must have somebody showing up at the door. It's always hard when you got dogs. So, 100% Tempranillo. And so when I was tasting this wine, I was looking for, would 85% of the people who bought this like this wine? And this is the advantage you have of being in the retail business, is that you can kind of see, get that retail palate where you can see where, you know, certain wines kind of weave through a lot of different palates. And this is one of those wines that I felt a lot of different types of palates would like, whether it was old world, new world, fruit forward, more earthy wines. And just after a while of selling wines to so many people throughout time, you start to understand what wines kind of fit in many different categories. So I felt that this one fit in that category. It is my pick of the month for May. And you know, a lot of grilling going on in May, barbecue chicken, ribs, steaks, all those things. So I felt like picking a Tempranillo for the food that was going on during this month, and also for the palates of people that just want something to enjoy. I thought this one fit in. So let's see what we get on the nose. So I get like this earthy currant notes right off the bat. Very rich, actually. Get a little bit of black licorice. I get a little blackberry and plum action coming through. And just a hint of worn leather. So on the nose, this wine shows a lot of characteristics of both what New World wine drinkers would like and what Old World wine drinkers like, and it sort of melds together. That was one of the things that appealed to me. Now let's see what we get on the palate. Right off the bat, I get a nice sort of ripe currants and cherries. I mean, it fills the mouth with those ripe flavors, a little bit of tobacco underneath. And I did get some tobacco on the nose. I was going to mention that earlier. And I get a lot of red flower components coming through on this wine. has that ripe dark fruit component, but it has an edginess to it. It's like that a guy that's walking down the street that's got all dressed up in a nice suit and tie, but this guy came from the Bronx, man. This guy came from the streets. This guy came from a rough neighborhood, kind of like me. I came from a rougher lifestyle, but yet they know how to dress up. You would never know it, but there's this edginess to this person that just tells you that this guy has some street smarts. And that's what this wine's like. It's got that polished, silky tannins, but there's an edginess to it, a minerality, the tobacco. I get a little bit of leather. I get some like wilted rose petals coming through and a little bit of violets. Get a little bit of meat marinade, kind of barbecue spices on the back end. There's minerality, but it's not overbearing. It's well integrated into the wine. And you know, just tasting it again, I haven't tasted it for a few weeks, back when I picked it as a pick of the month, but just tasting this now, I'm convinced that I did a good job on picking this as my pick of the month. Great for grilling, great with hamburgers, great with hot dogs, great with steaks, great with ribs, great with barbecue chicken. The tannins are soft enough that it won't interfere with any of those foods, but yet it's got enough strength to go against the grilled part of the meat and the barbecue and all that. Great bottle of wine, $12. It's a ridiculous value for that. So there you go. 2 new wines from Ste. Michelle and the pick of the month. All of them showing well. And of course my pick of the month I'm giving an A- to. Love that wine for $12. If you see it, Vino Zaco. Let me give you another shot of it. Vino Zaco, 100% Tempranillo from Rioja. There you go. Don't forget that label. Great value. Did I say the vintage? That would help. 2011. There you go. Thanks for watching. And remember, wine is not a mystery. It is just fermented grape juice. Drink it. Enjoy it. And always be willing to expand your palate horizons. Try new things. Try Tempranillo. Try a rosé. If you haven't tried those yet, give them a try. Expand your palate horizons, but never, ever, ever let anyone tell you what you should or shouldn't you like. And if you do that together, you and I can take the snob out of wine.